Welcome back to your Sunday Premier Political Show, Inside Politics. It's a pleasure to have you with us. In case you're just joining us, I'm joined by four esteemed guests: Dismas Mokua, Hesbon Owila, Haman Manyora, and Maliba Arnold, as we get to interrogate the week's top developments. Right before the break, we were conversing the issues to do with AUC chair bid by Raila Odinga and the local politics that is playing out, especially with interest on the mountain. Because in one way or the other, the SG of Jubilee Party, Jeremiah Kioni, says that perhaps the ruling party will have a difficult time in the mountain following this move, bearing in mind that they campaigned in 2022, in amongst other things, including the plan, they equally campaigned on making sure Raila Amolo Odinga sort of goes home. And we well know of the political rhetoric that was said on the campaign trail. Maliba Arnold, you're doing press-ups right before, but before you come in, we just want to remind our guests that feel free to call in. As of 12:30, we'll be sampling your views. Those are the numbers you can use to reach us, and we'll definitely get to sample what you have to say, your name, where you're calling from, and your take on the issues we have canvassed. So feel free to plug into the conversation. Equally on X, using the hashtag #InsidePolitics. Maliba, over to you now.
Thank you very much. So just before I weigh in into Kioni's lengthy speech, I just needed to bring it to life to Wheeler, that he spoke about the three strands: misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation. Probably he didn't listen to this. When the SG spoke, he said that, and you know, this is a mature political show, top of the very set. Today people are seated at home listening from church. It's a holiday. When I talk about holy, the word holy is actually separated from day, so it's not one.
Yeah.
So he said that Raila should be very careful with Ruto, and that when he's flying home, he should use the sea route. Clear. That is propaganda. That is malinformation. He is employing the idea that William Ruto can hurt Raila when he's flying in from Addis. What Kioni was meaning, and let's not actually be very diplomatic on that, what Kioni meant was that a plane coming in could be brought down, and that is not only sad, but a level of propaganda that should not be allowed to go and challenge. So just in case you missed that, it was important to bring in that. Now, I would want to start with where Dismas left. Number one, Kioni had a lot of time, national time, prime time, and for me, he gave a lot of non-answers, typical of what a lot of politicians do. For example, he's gone round and round. You feel this, because I work for UDA. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, normally we say that when you take something with a pinch of salt. I work for the wheelbarrow party, and therefore, this one I will take with a wheelbarrow of salt. He feels a little bit salty. You can actually feel the tinge of saltiness in him. He's oppo-supporting. There's a level where this is good, we are not happy, it has set us back. So there wasn't consistency in the message he was speaking to. But then, be that as it may, number one, Kenya Kwanza is not climbing the mountain. Kenya Kwanza is already on the mountain. It's Kioni who's actually trying to climb on the mountain, and yet he claims that he comes from the mountain. But Kenya Kwanza is on the mountain. Mm-hmm. The people of the mountain dissolved the office of the kingpin in 2022. So Kioni is still suffering from the memories of old, where there used to be a kingpin of Mount Kenya. But the people of Mount Kenya dissolved that office. They will only reconstitute it at a time when they feel it's necessary. But I think the people of Mount Kenya have joined the people of Western and so many other sub-nationalities in this country who have realized that going to the national table is better approached from an issue avenue as opposed to lining up behind an individual. So he can go around and speak about that as much as he wants. It's not going to work so well. But then he raises an issue that I feel Todd didn't raise seriously. Mm-hmm. Pockets of Azimio leadership endorsed and welcomed Raila's declaration for the candidature.
Okay.
One person is missing. The chairperson of the Azimio party has not publicly endorsed Raila Odinga. When William Ruto, the president of Kenya, has endorsed Raila Odinga. When Olusegun Obasanjo, a two-time president of Nigeria and a respected statesman, what is so special about the chairperson of Azimio endorsing his deputy, for example? You've seen Kioni speak about it being personal, a personal decision for Raila to run, and also good to the coalition, and that the coalition is strong. The coalition, like I said, there's mere coalition is Raila Odinga. In his absence, there is no coalition. You then are going to have a conversation like what we have had with him that is not very coherent, is filled with a lot of statements that really don't go anywhere else, just for purposes of filling in the show. What we should actually have done would have asked Kioni, when is Uhuru Kenyatta going to endorse Raila Odinga publicly? He has not, and I would actually be brave enough to actually push this.
You feel it's necessary?
It's necessary for us. It's important. Do you know why it's important? When he says that Raila's candidature is Museveni's candidature, that is disparaging Raila Odinga and spiting the candidature of Raila Odinga. Raila, as an individual, invited Olusegun Obasanjo here. He should even have said that it's an Olusegun Obasanjo candidature, a West African push. Raila himself, and Raila is a respected man, went ahead, declared his candidature. What Kioni is not saying is that there's a reason why Raila, for example, has spoken to Museveni, and then is publicly, as much as Dismas here did not like that Raila had to speak to people in a village and tell them that next week I will be talking to Paul Kagame. There's a reason to that.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this. On 17th of February, we as UDA moved in and did a statement, welcomed Raila's candidature. Because number one, we consider him an illustrious son of this particular country. And every Kenyan who steps out of this particular border, the government of the day, whether that particular person is a critic of the government or not, remains a Kenyan. Outside, you can't go out there and bring in the petty politics that we have around here on continental, regional, and even a global stage. So for Kenya Kwanza, as much as the innuendo saying that Raila's exit will actually help Kenya Kwanza, the one thing I will tell you is this. That as Kenya Kwanza, and specifically from the UDA that I work for, is that whether Raila stays or not, we know that we will win the election in 2027 on 3 grounds. Number one, we have resuscitated an economy that was in coma. Now we are nursing it. It's actually on the trajectory, and from next year we have got an uptick. Number two, we are managing politics, including what you see that is happening at the moment. We are managing politics very well.
Okay.
And number three, we will go back to the people with those two. We managed the economy, we managed politics, and we will win the people. And based on those 3 issues, we will win the election. So it doesn't matter whether Raila is here or not.
Wish you luck.
So let me get around. So let me get around this and say that Kenya Kwanza might have problems in the mountain. That is a housekeeping problem. Those are small problems. And you see, initially, we had what I would call an external force that we were repelling. Immediately, that force was actually repelled, and we actually occupied the city. As we consolidate, we then now begin housekeeping. Those are small issues about e-teams. Those are not major issues. And whereas Kenya Kwanza can have a problem here and there in Mount Kenya, the person of Kioni and the other person of Martha Karua are not the alternative. They are not anywhere an alternative. In anything, Kioni is actually very consistent. He ran with Mudavadi. We know how it came out. He was on the side this time that supported Raila Odinga. We know how it worked out. At least on that particular end, he has been consistent. So I'd like just to say like this, that, and this is bold, Uhuru Kenyatta was Museveni's candidate. I also need to say this, that when Raila declared, we are bordering on diplomatic problems. When Raila declared his candidature on a Thursday, Uhuru had planned to declare his candidature on a Saturday. And that is why, even when he spoke to the media on Saturday, he did not endorse Raila Odinga. Museveni had a problem with a little bit of Raila's candidature. He raised the issue that Raila was too old to bring any value to AUC. But we thought Raila actually has got much more experience. When he worked as the high representative of infrastructure, no one has complained. You've not had any complaint anywhere.
Apart from Kagame, the ruling party,
yes, so look at this. Then Kagame also had an issue, and that is why you will hear Raila emphasizing, or rather the trajectory of campaign going this way. We go to Kampala, then we are going to Kigali, and then now we go south. There's a reason why he actually had to say that, Didmas. There's a reason to it.
Right of reply. A lot has been said. Let's start with Prof, and then we'll go to Dismas, then Hezbollah. Yeah.
You know, not right of reply. Guy says he works for UDA. So if UDA is saying Uhuru was running, then that's very serious. I want to believe if Uhuru wanted to run, he'll just run. Uhuru has enough friends in Africa to run. He won't lack votes. He'll be comfortable, and he would say it. So I think let's not speak for him unless he's saying UDA is saying. But if it's him saying, it's a different story. Okay. I'm only worried because he keeps saying he's working for UDA.
I do. So that's.
But I'm more interested on the question of Mount Kenya. That Kioni has a problem with Mount Kenya. That Kenya Kwanza is on top of the mountain. That's perfectly correct. It is perfectly true. It's perfectly true that the people of Mount Kenya are with William Ruto. But I've said here, and perhaps I want to repeat for the last time. If President William Ruto makes the mistake of seeking comfort in the Raila support, and a consequence of which he decides that Mount Kenya is no longer important, that Rigathi Gachagua can be ignored, that will be a monumental mistake. Why? And that points the issue of the economy. Three things. Mambo yao unajua ni matatu. Number one, they have resuscitated the economy. Number two, I don't know what. And number three, you go to number two. You go with number one and two to the people. Only a madman or a person who has just landed from Mars can say the economy of Kenya is doing well. This economy is bleeding. This economy can come to a standstill anytime. The people of Kenya, hearing a young man like this one saying that things are working well, I think they'll just pray for him, because this is a Sunday. They'll pray for the young man, because this economy is hurting. People are suffering. You just need to walk in town and see the joints you used to see vibrant. They are either closed or barely surviving. There used to be these restaurants in town which serve fresh African food. Chakula kuna kulala. They don't even have a freezer. You know, the food is for today and it goes today. If you want to sit, you must be there by 11. Mukua, you know those joints. There are many. They used to be there. You must be there 11 to enjoy your lunch, to sit. Today, you can go there and choose to sleep instead of sitting. You can put chairs together and lie. The economy is suffering. This country is suffering. Of course, there are certain factors beyond this country, beyond the president. But to say the economy has been revived is to take the joke a little too far.
Okay. Makwa.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation, all of them rolled into one. But I think Maliba's done a good job, so I'll not even bother going to that level. So Maliba and Owila can probably have lunch after this and now go to the details. Okay. But let's go to the germane issues. And in my view, there are two germane issues. In my view, we are spending a lot of valuable time discussing about the political orphans, political funerals because of Raila's departure from the Kenyan political space, instead of asking the germane issues. Then if Mr. Raila becomes the AUC chair, what does it mean for Kenya? What does it mean for East Africa? What does it mean for Africa? And how can Kenya leverage on Mr. Raila Odinga at that national level so that we can get a dividend? I mean, some things are given. There are people who are in political office, simply they've been throwing stones at Raila Odinga or hanging at his coattails. So those ones, we know they're going to be a chapter in history books. But now let's look at the future. Let's avoid being pathologists and be physicians. Let's face the future, because you can talk about his MP, you know, till the cows come home. But how does that benefit Kenya? How does that benefit nation? Then number two, Owila says that Mr. Raila Odinga is candidature. No. You said that Mr. Raila Odinga's candidature is Kampala. When he said that, I almost gave him water and coffee, all of them, because I said to myself, wow, does it mean that now President Museveni is the one who is running Kenya? While in fact, Olusegun Obasanjo came to Kenya, and then Nairobi has made its commitment that they are supporting Mr. Raila Odinga to the hilt. And we indicated last time, Mr. Raila Odinga is a beneficiary of President Ruto's diplomacy. That any Kenyan with the talent, you will be supported. It matters not your political interest, your race or creed. And then number 3, we all know that President Ruto inherited an economy which was sick. He's turning it around. Now, there are some Kenyans, when the Kenyan shilling gains, they start shedding tears. So now, there's some people as if they're waiting for Kenya to collapse. They want to dance on Kenya's graves. And these are Kenyans. So when the Kenyan shilling gains, they start shedding tears. Others had gone to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro praying that Kenya defaults on the Eurobond. When it did not default, they started sulking. So you wonder, what kind of nation are we? Why do we want the nation to fail? Maybe because you don't like the leadership, or you don't like the policy positions taken, or if the success of this administration makes your probability of securing a seat in 2027 a nightmare. In my view, we should all look at Kenya and ask ourselves, what are our national interests and what are our public interests?
Okay.
And then we support them to the hilt. I know Hezboni has been doing press-ups.
Yeah,
so
let's give him a chance to...
I don't think I'll get into the back and forth. But let me just say a few things. One, I did not say that Raila is Uganda's candidate. Raila said clearly that he's been proposed, or Museveni is going to propose him. It doesn't make him a Museveni candidate. That is just the procedure. There has to be a country that is proposing you. It doesn't have to be your country.
Sure.
Number 2, whether we like it or not, both Kenya Kwanza and Azimio have their own interests in this AUC thing. What we don't understand granularly is what their interests are. Probably Arnold knows what UDA's and Kenya Kwanza interest is. Us, we don't understand. But we can make inferences. And this is why I come back to what has been said here. That UDA's interests or Kenya Kwanza's interest is very simple. One is always to bring President Uhuru Kenyatta into the public domain as a punching bag and talk about Uhuru, even when it is not necessary to talk about Uhuru. And that is what he's doing here, and he has said like 3 times he is speaking for UDA. Whether Uhuru endorses Raila or not is irrelevant and immaterial. He is not a sitting president. Okay. He is like me. He is a citizen like me.
Really?
You see, number 2. If Uhuru...
Let him finalize.
Yes, if Uhuru wanted to contest, just like Prof said, nothing would stop Uhuru from contesting.
Okay.
But let us look at the bigger picture. What is the role of an AU chair? Is to serve sitting presidents. Who in his normal senses as a president would serve for 2 terms and then go and become a secretary for other presidents? It doesn't even make logical sense. This seat is not for a president who has served. Logically, it is not for a president who has served.
Okay.
But let me finish. The reason why they would want to bring Uhuru every other time is very simple. It's to create a narrative that is targeting Raila's home turf and say that Uhuru played Raila in 2022 and Uhuru is also trying to play Raila going into 2025 in these AUC elections. And the reason why they are doing that, and that is the propaganda that he has propagated here, with allusions, aspersions, and rumors. And if you want to know that, Prof can confirm. From discourse analysis, when someone says, I hear, you know, there is no truth in that.
Okay.
But the reason why they are doing this is very simple.
Yeah.
It's so that in 2027, they come to my Luo Nyanza, they come to Raila's home turf in Western Kenya, and tell guys that, you know what, we even gave Raila a job.
Okay.
At a point where Uhuru wanted to play him for the 2nd time. This is classic UDA and Kenya Kwanza narrative, and their chair is seated here
okay.
in a yellow tie.
We'll have to give him a chance to defend himself, but before you do, sorry to make you hold your thoughts. We have to cross over to other studios. Tor is just set to give us a breakdown of what to expect in the coming week. Of course, it'll be busy. We had from Odinga. He'll try and get the support of various countries as he seeks to take up this position in the AUC come 2025. Tor?
Well, Jesse, thank you so much. And of course, it is very heated. I can hear it from the other side. And that is just what we expect this show to be. But just straight to what we expect in this week, or the week that is coming and is promising to be very tactical and active politically, is the Azimio leader Raila Odinga is set to travel to Rwanda to seek President Paul Kagame's vote in quest to lock in the 7 votes in that region, or the East African region, where Odinga says he will be traversing the whole continent to campaign and seek the endorsement from the sitting heads of state, who will be the voters in that process. And President William Ruto has already been busy campaigning for Odinga, with several heads of state visiting the country, including Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who was here just a few days ago, and more are expected in coming days. And of course, after that will be something else that will be taking the headlines is the Kisii Deputy Governor impeachment, where after the MCAs unanimously voted to impeach the Kisii Deputy Governor, Dr. Robert Monda, his fate now lies with the Senate. The removal of a deputy governor follows the same route as that of a governor under Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act. The House will have to decide, first of all, whether or not to have his impeachment hearings in plenary or committee and decide his fate. It will follow the same route that we saw with the CI Deputy Governor William Oduol, who was saved by the House. Remember, that was a very heated process where both, actually the Kenya Kwanza side supported Oduol and saved him for that matter. And something else that will be forming the headlines this week is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's next move, as he's expected to camp in the mountain as he seeks to solidify his base. Remember, the jitters are rising from some of his foot soldiers and supporters who are saying that he needs to show the direction because he doesn't have a party per se. He's the deputy party leader of the UDA party, but unlike some of the principals or the leaders in the Kenya Kwanza side, like Musalia Mudavadi, who has the ANC party, Moses Wetangula is the Speaker of the National Assembly, who has the Ford Kenya party, Raila Odinga as well in the Azimio side, having the ODM party, and Kalonzo Musyoka with the Wiper party, and others. Our deputy president doesn't have his political party of his own. He's a member of the UDA party, which he leads as well, but unlike the others, he doesn't have that party. And those are some of the jitters that are rising, and we'll be expecting that they'll be forming the biggest part and the chunk of the conversation in the coming week. So Jesse, I want to hand it back to you as we listen to the callers and the views from the Kenyans and the Wananchi, who are the part and parcel of this conversation, Jesse.
Okay, thanks, Stowe, for that breakdown. It'll definitely be a politically charged week if Rigathi Gachagua will be camping at the mountain this whole time. It's definitely perhaps to avert a political fallout. We'll try and see and monitor the sentiments from that part of the country, even as we monitor what's happening in other regions. Allow us to take a short break. Remember, your call is coming up next. Feel free to reach us out on the lines that are displayed on your screens. We'll definitely be sampling your views. Tell us where you're calling from, your name, and your thoughts on the issues that have been canvassed. You're watching Inside Politics. We'll be back in a few.